Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, we actually are recording episode 190. This is,
Yeah,
and
that's
this
right.
is
If you want to go to
live.
Niagara Falls, you go to Interstate 190.
Yes, everyone has a 190, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Okay. We actually recording this live on YouTube tonight so we can get some chat feedback going as well.
Yes. You were supposed to do this last week.
Yeah, we were. Yes, we're a little bit late here. Now that we had the computers all set up and running, we can hopefully do that tonight. And I'm hoping now that I get the new software set up, I can get a new intro going. I'll figure out something on that intro there. And
I still like that, though.
it'll be something similar to that. It will be. It'll be something similar. But I've been watching a lot of videos, tips and tricks on Windows 11. And so I should be I was like, how do I do this and how do I do that? So some guy had a ton of tips on how to move the taskbar around. All little things I didn't know how to do, So I'm hoping that I get my around the layout shirt on for
There you go, Ray. How about that?
watching on YouTube live here. But anyway, here in episode 190, we're going to be talking about why you play certain seasons. When you get a newer game, why do you order a certain season? We really don't want to know the when or the what, but we want to know the why. Why is it?
You'll tell us anyway, but
Yeah, and it's
why?
Yeah, well, why do you play certain seasons? I have my go-to seasons in different sports. They're different for different sports, and Ron does too. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight here. So if you're in the chat and you want to talk about, we want to know the why. If you're in the chat, don't just type in 1972. It tells me nothing. It tells me nothing. We want to know why is it 72? What was it important to you? Was it a championship season? Was it almost a championship season? Was it just a season that you went to a lot of games? What was it that, why? We want to know the why. So that's what we're going to be talking about today on episode 190. And so let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Digitaldice.com is the email, it's the website rather, digitaldice.com, digitaltodice.com. 978-751-DICE is the dice line. digitaltodice@yahoo.com. Now that's the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. So those are all the ways you can get a hold of us. And so that's our topic there. And I suppose we could probably get into what we're playing real quick, and then we could probably get to the room and get to our main topic.
Yeah, don't forget to check the Discord, get some answers there, and go back on the Facebook to get some answers there.
Oh, can you do one of those and I'll do the other?
I can do the Facebook.
Alrighty, and I will head over to Discord and we'll see what's going on with that. I had to remember all my passwords for all these things when I went to the new computer or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I had a very hard time trying to get Discord running when I got my new computer. Because I lost my login.
Oh, you said that. Yeah, you said you lost that. Yeah. I was fairly new to it, so I had everything pretty much, Alrighty, so I have the Discord fired up so we can talk about some of that there as well. And all right. Well, I guess I'll kick off what I'm playing first. I did play a little bit this week. Played some Stone Cold Hockey on the PC. The 1970-71 season is, I think it's just about out. If it's not out, it'll be out very shortly. And I was playing that. And again, that's one of my go-to seasons. And we'll talk about why later on in the show. But I fired up and says, I'm going to play the Bruins. And that game plays so fast. And it simulates all the other games. So I'm going to play some Bruins here in Stone Cold Hockey. And so I played game one. It was against Detroit. And the Bruins attack is like a 12 or a 13. And so they just score a lot of goals. And Detroit's defense was a 3. So if you can follow this in Stone Cold Hockey, if the Bruins win the control battle, then you roll the 20-sided die to see if you're going to beat the defense. Well, you only need a 4 out of a 20. So there's a pretty darn good chance that you're going to beat the Detroit defense. Well, their attack of 13, if you weren't scoring an automatic goal, you were getting a crease chance and then scoring an automatic goal. I think the final score on that was like 10-2 Boston. It was drubbing.
Was that Gordy's last year, or was that one more? Where did he go to the WHA?
I don't think he went to the WHA till like 74, 75.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how many seasons he played and then retired and came back. I don't remember off the top of my head. But Gordie Howe was on that team, and the Bruins just crushed him. It was 10-2 or something like that. And I was like, oh boy. So every time the Bruins play them, I'm going to kill them. I hope not. But so then after I did that game, I went to the schedule and I was just kind of like automatically playing the other games. And they had the Seals at the Blackhawks, the undefeated California Seals at the Blackhawks.
With 0% of the precincts reporting, we can now project.
Yeah. They had opening night against, it might even been Detroit that they beat opening night. So the California Seals went into Chicago, and I played that game. And that was I want to say that was like 11-1. It was just bad. It was, Chicago, again, the Stanley Cup finalists that year, just destroyed the Seals. So I played 2 games, 2 huge blowouts, but that's gonna be fun to play. And that's one that you can play a game so quick on the computer with that. Even though I think I like the cards and dice a bit better. I just do. But I can see myself playing a quick project where I can play like all the Bruins games and the occasional Blackhawks or Seals.
I can see why though, because you get to the computer does the role in the background for the shooter.
Yes,
which is something that you suggested, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
First, as opposed to you on the table manually making that role. So, there might be a chance, and then finding out who it is, which I think builds that suspense just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it is, and I don't miss it as much as I thought I would when I play the cards and dice game versus computer game. But when I play the cards and dice, when I'm in a dice rolling mood, it is fun to see, okay, what's happening here? What's happening here? I get the, Bruins get it, attack, who's going to take the shot, and it's a goal. A lot of times, though, you didn't even get to that because when you're playing by yourself and you're rolling, let's say off of column A, scoring chart A, which is the best one, sometimes it's an automatic goal. And so I don't always roll the shooter because sometimes nothing happens. So I don't usually roll the shooter till I take the shot. But if it's an automatic goal, I guess I probably should roll that first. But
in Dice United, there is minimal play-by-play. So when you actually have the scoring chance, because that mechanic is just a little bit different than Stone Cold Hockey. 73-74 was the first WHA season for Gordie. Thank you.
Yes, just saw that picture.
And so you get the result because you can see it pop up, but you at least get a little description of the play. So you don't know the person with this. And of course, there's a lot less scorers in soccer than there are in hockey. I mean, the top 3 for most teams would take up half the scoring chances. So, but you do get how the goal was scored. So a little visualization in your head about he put the header past the keeper.
Yeah, that is kind of fun. Yeah.
And so that kind of makes up for the fact that you don't know who has the chance.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I did play. I watched you play the Dice United Soccer. I haven't played it on the PC yet, but I did watch you play it. So I played 70-71. And I think there's going to be a fun product because that's something you can play. Like I say, bang out a game in a minute or 2 if you want, and just kind of follow along in the season. And I'll stream some, and most I'll play offline. So I played some of that. I fired up Digital Diamond Baseball, and I figured out that I was smart enough to back up my seasons and bring the backups onto the new computer so I could bring in 78 and 79, which is what I've been playing.
Right.
And so I pulled out my 78 replay of the Boston Red Sox, and I played a game against the Milwaukee Brewers. That was fun. Sox went up 3-0, blew it. They gave up 4. Torres gave up 4 runs in 1 inning. Milwaukee took the lead. I think it was in the 6th. The Sox chipped away. They chipped away. They got a man on base, I think it was like a single or something, right? So I had the next guy bunt, and it was a walk. I rolled a 14 as a walk, first and second. I'm going to bunt again. There's nobody out. I need the tying run on third base. I rolled another 14, a walk. He walks the bases loaded, and I think I got a fly ball to right for a sacrifice fly to tie the game, and then we won it later on. But good to play the app of baseball again. It really was good to get back because after all the setup I've been doing for the last week and other things going on, it felt good to play again and just sitting here. And I just had something on YouTube I was listening to, and playing and using Digital Diamond. Had a blast. Really did. Had an absolute blast. So those are the games I've been playing. I did play the real life game today. It was called Work in the Yard. So we've had 2 days of no rain. We've had nothing but rain, as you kind of had too. So we had 2 days no rain. So I've been working in the yard, cutting the grass and weed whacking. And today I had to go to Home Depot, and I got 18 1x1, walking stones, stepping stones are what they're called.
Oh, okay.
They're not wicked heavy, but when you lifted 18, so 18 of them off the pallet onto the cart, check out, off the cart into the truck, get home, out of the truck into the wheelbarrow, and out of the wheelbarrow onto the ground. It was like 4 times.
Did you have to do the self-checkout one by one for those?
No.
Can you imagine doing a self-checkout for those?
Yeah, lifting all those up. Yeah, lift that up for me. I'd be like, I have the arms like He-Man, And then I get home and I realized that I needed to level the ground so I could make it look good. It was going under the deck, so no one's gonna really see it. But I was like, I still want to make it look nice, and so I'm on my hands and knees and I'm spreading the dirt. So I got done that, and I put them all in, and I was done. Seriously, that took like 3 hours. Go to Home Depot, get all that, come home, and do all the lugging around. And I came in, I took a shower. I think I put on the air conditioner and just like laid in bed for a couple hours. I was done. But I did get to play something, and that was kind of fun that I finally did get to play. So
that's good.
Anyway, so what have you been doing?
Let's see. Mostly Action PC 2001. Speaking of Red Sox games, and speaking of typical mid-'80s Red Sox games, Red Sox Yankees. Red Sox have somehow, as we now get into Labor Day, I'm on Labor Day weekend in that replay. And so down the last month, and I've joked all week that the Red Sox, in all the years I've tried to do seasons for them where they were supposed to do well and haven't, this 2001 team was not one of their better ones, and yet here they are with a chance to win the division. So the Yankees come a-calling to Fenway with Pedro Martinez on the mound for Boston, and they get a 3-0 lead, and Pedro pitching in the 9th, but he let off the leadoff runner. Okay, that's it. I'm not taking the chance.
Yep.
So I put in, I forget who I put in. It really does. Oh, Oogie Urbina. I remember exactly who I put in. Okay. Oogie, over from the Montreal Expos, had converted all 8 save opportunities with the Red Sox in the computer since his trade from Montreal, including, I think, 1 on the stream that I got for him.
Didn't he also kick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Oh no, that was Donald Ubuike. I get those guys mixed up.
Donald Ubuike, Gary Yepremian, Pete Gogolak, and
Gary Yepremian. Yeah, he went from the Dolphins to the Buccaneers. So he stayed in Florida. So
and Private Snafu from the mid-'40s would have pitched better than Oogie Urbina.
Do you remember Gary Yepremian on The Odd Couple?
Yes, I actually saw that a couple years ago.
He had the was it the football cake? He's like, keek, keek. That's all he said. That was his only word. Keek, keek. No, don't kick the cake.
Yeah, in the 70s leisure suit. I really felt like I was watching somebody in Sanibel slacks and Johnny Miller for Sears or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Oogie Urbina, not someone that's going to be inducted anytime in the near future in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame, does not get an out. Oh. The Yankees put up a 4 spot. They go ahead 4-3. And of course, who comes out to pitch the 9th for New York? Mariano Rivera.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Red Sox had a chance. I did so. I played 4 games on the stream this week. I'm on vacation. I've got a doubleheader coming up Sunday. And I lost all 4.
Oh. Oh, man.
Which Cleveland Indian fans are happy because I did a couple of their games and they were all on the road. So unless I'm doing the Red Sox, I'm doing the home team. So did that. You actually taught me something this week.
Okay.
I had grabbed all the links for my downloads for ASG Golf, and had downloaded some of them, but not really had installed any. That takes, as you know, from just doing this yourself, it takes a while to go through and do that. And so I just knew that I wasn't going to be playing a lot of golf this summer. I know that we'll be doing some sort of golf once the baseball season ends, and figured when I got in the mood to do some golf, I would just do it at that point. Take an hour to do it. But you were talking the other day in the show that we did earlier this week about just moving stuff from your backup drive to your main folder. And I went, oh, of course you can do that. And so I did. And I moved all those courses over in about 2 minutes because I'm on my backup hard drive. So I created myself again and am playing. Australia.
Some programs and some games, it works flawlessly. Some it works a little bit. Some it doesn't work at all. You have to reinstall everything. But that was one that when I got the code from Marianne, she's like, hey, and by the way, instead of installing all your courses or whatever, if you can just go to your ASG publishing folder and drop it in on the new computer, you'll probably be up and running. And I was. Everything was there.
I wish she had mentioned that before.
Well, maybe she likes me a little bit better than you. I don't
know. I still have done more of these than you. You can be replaced.
Yes, you have actually.
So that was so easy. That really was so easy because normally when you do any of the Richard Hanna games and you download the seasons, just come with the game, and so whatever code you have goes for whatever is there. So it takes about 2 seconds to install within the game itself. I mean, this bit because ASG Golf is a bit older. It just hasn't been simplified like that, and so yeah. So I played some golf. I'm supposed to be now. My mom's coming tomorrow, but I think she and Sarah are doing other things. For my vacation, simulated an OOTP 24. So this is the rain delay theater while I'm supposedly not working next week. I did an as played history of baseball from 1901 forward, and then an alternate history of baseball from 1901 forward. I will say that David Ortiz looks weird in New York Yankee pinstripes.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Joe DiMaggio spent some time with the Boston Red Sox. I won't go anything else there. So very interesting how the game handled both.
Okay.
And so that's going to be 2 or 3 videos, depending on how I feel and all of that, so you guys can be entertained. So that was the prime. It took almost a day and a half to simulate the 122 real.
No kidding, really?
Well,
really?
I went to set up to run all night. Made sure that the computer didn't fall asleep and I could shut off the screen. But the second the screen went off, OOTP stopped working. So when I went to bed, it was doing 1937, and when the alarm went off at 6:30 the next morning, I was trying to guess with myself what season would it be on when I woke up. I thought it would be like 1973 or 74 because it was doing all the minor leagues games too. It was 1938.
Oh, jeepers!
So I had to make sure I kept my screen on
every couple
while
minutes.
It did that, and I think it did it till about 6 o'clock that night. It took another 12 hours after I woke up.
Holy cow!
Now the next day I did the alternate history, and it was done in 4 hours.
Oh wow! Okay.
I think some of it had to do with the fact that there was probably a lot more data to read, who was in what lineups and all that. Plus, it really simulated every minor league game in history as well. And this, I just set up the base level of minors, so it wasn't trying to play as many games. But just kind of very curious. Some of it I know, and some of it I don't. A lot of it I don't know. All I will say is that the Red Sox didn't wait 86 years.
Okay, nice.
Between championships.
Nice.
And our friend Bernie will be happy about one of those teams that
Oh,
won.
Nice.
But,
I wish I had seen when I was a kid. I wish I'd seen a championship.
So I'll be very interested to go through. But I figured that would just be a good, just some things just to kind of narrate through and give people something different. Well,
that's fun. In fact, I think Franchise Hockey Manager and OOTP are on sale this week, and I should probably get the newer ones.
Steam sales, so Digital Diamond's on sale this week too, and
yep,
there is now going to be integration in for Status Pro Advanced. I don't know if you saw the video that Mark did for that.
You told me about that. I didn't see the video, but you did tell me about that.
There will be not all the seasons are available for that. The Status Pro Basic that comes with the game will be for any card set you want to do. Status Pro Advanced is an add-on that you buy from someone else. I believe if you look at the Facebook page for
Okay.
Status Pro Advanced, it'll give you the directions, and then they'll send you a file to put into the game, and then Mark has a video on how to integrate all that. But you can try
good.
out the 2 World Series teams last year for free. And Mark
I might check
walked
that
you
out to see
through
how
the
much different
process.
it is.
It's a different game, and all the charts are included with it. So it's a different set
Okay.
of charts as well.
Okay.
But you can
Interesting.
mix and match. I mean, that's the thing beauty about cards and dice.
Right. I'll have to check that out.
So I guess that's been about it. I could complain about my EVE Online universe, but no one wants to
Yeah.
hear about it.
I got the golf itch. In fact, I almost pulled out the app of golf today, and I was like, nah, I was sitting in the chair. I was like, man, I'm still pretty tired, and I got to record tonight, so I didn't want to do anything big. And you know what I almost broke out is the Action PC Golf, just so I could hit a couple of holes. I think
Ricky Fowler approves.
I think I could go back and play that now with a different frame of mind. It's been
I
a while
think
since I
so.
played.
Oh,
'Cause now
absolutely.
that I played the app of golf and the ASG, I get that I'm not playing links and I'm not hitting down the middle anymore. So I think if I played that, I hope. I mean, it's one of those games that, like I say, you actually play and make decisions, and when you fail, it's frustrating. But I'm kind of hoping I can go back and just kind of play that from a bird's eye view and enjoy what happens either way, instead of getting all worked up about mishitting every third shot.
Isn't it
And
on sale again this week too?
it might be.
I think it is on sale for the holiday.
But I've been watching a lot of golf on the TV like I do in the summer. And so I'm like, I got the golf itch. So I might go check out that's, in fact, I'm going to write this right down. ABC Golf. I'm going to check that out. I think I have 2021. I don't think they come out with one last
They
year.
haven't. It hasn't come out in a couple of years. And the
So
community has made several hundred courses for that game.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you can get a ton of courses for that. And I do have a ton. You know what I was watching today, before we get into the topic of the day, and if you're in the chat room watching right now, what we want to know is, when you get a game, new game or whatever, and then you order a season, why do you order that season? Not so much what season or when, but what is it about that season that you want to play that in a new game? Okay, is it your favorite season? Is it a player? So if you're in the chat room, let us know. We got a bunch of people in the chat room now, so let us know. Why is your go-to season your go-to season? Okay, and we got some Discords and Facebooks we're going to read as well,
and you're going to read the Discords, and
we'll talk about that too. So, but before I wrap up my golf story, I just want to get that out so you guys can prepare and put that in the chat room. So I was watching the golf today, and they had 3 different golfs on. They had the I don't know if it was an Open, but it was golf in Detroit, and it was the Rocket Mortgage thing.
PGA's in Detroit. Yep.
Okay, and then they had the seniors, and I was watching the seniors, and then they had the Live Golf on the CW network. Oh boy, that is so different. They had the live mic, the Live mic on the golf, and it was kind of neat. You could hear them talking about going back and forth between the clubs, but there was dance music playing. And I don't know if they could hear it or if it was on the TV, but I'm sitting there watching golf, and you're used to hearing the birds and hearing the trees, and you're hearing, like, yeah, let's go to 7 iron. No, I'm going to go to the 8 iron. I'm going to stay to the left. Okay, that's fine. In Live Golf, it's like, so what do you think? 7 iron?
Yeah, they can hear all that. They can hear all that.
And it's just like, then you see on the side the leaderboard's all funky. It's like, it's like you're at a dance party. I'm like, okay, I get they're trying to do, XFL golf, but it was weird. It was so weird, and I didn't like the dance stuff. I didn't need the music. I don't need music. When I play games, I turn the music off. I don't want the music. I just want to focus on the game. That was weird, Ron. It was really weird.
I haven't watched any of the Live. There's really no one that I followed on the PGA Tour that went over to Live that I would go over and watch.
I just wanted to see what it was all about, because it was finally on TV, but it was on the CW network, right after, Bewitched as an Angel is on, or some of those crazy shows, so shows from the 70s
like
and
the
80s.
Penn and Teller show. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen them before. Yeah, they're all right.
We'll watch that every once in a while, after we know if they've been tricked or not, and just to see the magician's response, and knowing, the behind the scenes stuff is pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm getting the golf itch. So I might have to go check out some golf. And
let's bury the lead there. 2 men in their 50s admit that they actually watched something on CW.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we are the wrong
You
gender
know,
and
oh,
certainly the wrong
oh,
age group.
and just before we get to the main topic here, I'm watching The Senior, right? And the guy, and so it's, yeah, these guys are they're older golfers on the senior tour, blah 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 blah. And one guy goes, "This guy won the championship when he was a junior in high school in 1984." Do you know who was a junior in high school in 1984 and has two thumbs? I'm on the senior tour now. This is bad. It's like, come on.
Patty Harrington, who is the defending U.S. Senior Open champion and got into the Open this year because of it, and played really well. And I are the same age.
Yeah,
We're,
it's just,
we're both 51. So
talk about feeling old. Yeah,
Yes.
unbelievable. All righty, so we're gonna fancy over here, and we're gonna get to our main topic, which is why do you play certain seasons? Here we go. All right, so this is something we kick around all the time, as far as one of the thing was when I bought Apple Hockey, Ron says get a season that you like, and at the time I was like, man, I've been playing a ton of 70s. I'm gonna get 90, 91. I'm gonna play the Brett Hulls, the Adamotes, the Mario Lemieux, and so there were some great teams, the Blues, the Red Wings. All those teams are fantastic in 90, 91. And that was the first season. I don't want to give it away too much, but that was a very special year for me for certain reasons. And so so I got that, and that really made the game so much better. So now when I get a new game, I do like to try to get a season that I enjoy, so I can recognize the players in the whole bit. And I say that to everybody too. It's like, if you're gonna get a new game or try a new game, even if it's a free demo, spend the money if it's a PDF and get a season that or that you like or whatever it is, because it'll make the game so much better. The game has so much more of a chance of staying on your table.
Yes.
If you have players you're familiar with. Okay, so I'll kick that off. So let me get back to 1991.
Go ahead.
Why I like 1991 is that was one of the first seasons, in fact, the very first season for the Sega hockey games. Okay, while I was still in my video game stage, in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way up through recently, I played a lot of video games. And the Sega Genesis come out, and it was the Penguins and the North Stars on the cover, because that's who was in the finals that year. And I picked that game up, and I thought that was the best hockey game I had ever played. And to this day, I still think it's one of the best hockey games.
Yeah,
I mean, graphically now things are so much better, but
I played the ton out of. I think it was 94 or 95 for the Genesis. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So, but that game was unbelievable at the time for the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, it would pull the goalie. It just was an arcade game. It was fun to play, but it felt like real hockey. And so for me, 1991, because of that video game, always has a special place in my heart because I played so much of that. I know so many of those guys, and that's at a time that I was an adult quotation, that I watched a lot of hockey on TV, and I could stay up late and watch the whole game on the West Coast instead of mom and dad sending you to bed because it was too late, So I watched a lot of hockey in that era. The Bruins are pretty good in that time too, and some of the guys I mentioned, Lemieux and Oates and Hull and Yager and all those guys. There was just a good solid year for me hockey wise. So when I get games, I like to try to get 90, 91 because I referenced that to the Sega Genesis, and it's a lot. Again, it's a season I watched a lot on TV. So for me, 90, 91 is a big one for me, and those are the reasons why.
Okay. I guess I'll lead off with my own then while you get set up. By the way, I had something in for. Oh yeah, congratulations on getting Lucic back.
My phone has been going off on Facebook all day with
How much they signed him?
They signed Van Riemsdyk
for like $1 million too.
I don't know. They're signing all kinds of guys, and some of them I even know. So
okay,
yeah.
So congratulations on the return of Lucic. I think the Canadians got Max Pacioretty back today too.
Okay.
And Anyway, so 78 baseball for the longest time was my go-to because that was the first year that I got into going and buying baseball cards every day. My mother would give me 50 cents
Mhm.
and I would get a newspaper in a pack of cards or a Coke in a pack of cards. But there was the common thing was the pack of cards with the orange backs and the baseball game on the back. Who knew that,
Mhm.
45 years later, we'd be doing this.
Right.
And so that was the year that baseball really made sense. And so it was Monday nights in the summer and Saturday afternoons and This Week in Baseball. And so all the players were there. And that's when I started to learn how the game was played, as opposed to for being it's cool, it makes lots of noise, and I like it, to me finally understanding it. And because and the Red Sox were good, and as it turns out, all 4 divisional races were phenomenal. That was just, okay, I know these guys. These are going to
Mhm.
be, and I had my perception of what that is. And anytime you go from new to the hobby or new to a game, you think you know how that season or style of play should come out. And so if it matches what you have in your 6-year-old head, for me, that's the golden part of it. Yep, this works. This is
Mhm.
how Jim Rice should be doing. This is why we don't talk about Mike Torres in front of mixed company.
Mhm.
Bucky Dent is never allowed in Burlington, Vermont. So
Right.
so yeah, so in baseball, 78 is that pony season. Being the favorite and going, okay. Some of it's nostalgia, as you said, but again, comfort level. It really is the macaroni and cheese and meatloaf
Yeah.
for that. So
Yeah.
you go ahead and start with the Discord.
Okay. Let me see. Before I get to the Discord, for me for baseball, I started playing baseball probably around 75. I was always a hockey player, but I get into baseball later. And I say like 8 years old. That was late because everybody else was playing at 5 and 6. But so I really like the mid 70s baseball through like 82, 83. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's the year I get into high school. I got a car, and then you're not not buying baseball cards anymore at that point. You're doing other things. Uh but I actually at Home Depot I ran into a guy today with a Jack Lambert football shirt.
Wow.
And I was like, "Hey, cool shirt." He's like, and he come over, he's like, "Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh, and I went to all the games, and I saw some of the Super Bowls." And I was like, "Do you ever go to Three Rivers?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we had season tickets," and it was a funny discussion. He's like, "And then the Pirates," and like, "Oh, we are family." He's like, "Yeah, Willie Starr." We had a great conversation at Home Depot about the '79 Pittsburgh seasons, and that's another one for me. And so for me, like mid to late '70s, early '80s. My favorite seasons, though, are the ones that the Yankees didn't win the World Series. Obviously,
81. The strike year.
but it's like 79 they didn't, and
That's
in
true.
80 they didn't. So 79 and 80 are kind of my go-to baseball seasons because I was still kind of playing ball. In 1980, our team won the city championship, so I was playing baseball. I still was buying the cards a little bit at that point. Watching them on TV. I knew the lineups of the Red Sox, because I was big
Yep.
into baseball at that time. But the 79-80, I love those seasons because it wasn't Yankees Dodgers. It was, Pirates and Phillies and Royals. It was other teams aside
Yeah.
from the dominant teams. So for me, for baseball, I would say those are my 2 seasons, 79, 80. And why? It's because it was not the same old, same old. The Pirates come out of nowhere, and then the Phillies and Royals are the great series. So for me,
Yeah,
that's
that
what.
was a fantastic series. I saw that Pacioretty went to the Caps from Montreal. So that was corrected in
Okay.
the chat. All right. So you want to go first?
Yeah, now sticking with the 79, Mark in the Discord, who's one of our Patreons, club level Patreons, he said it was the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates. And he says he was a junior in high school at the time of his life where he really didn't have any responsibilities yet. So many great memories. And 44 years later, he still remembers listening to the game, on the radio. And going to his grandparents for dinner and watching the games on Channel 2. So 1979 was a big one for him. And it sounds like it's more because it was a big year for him in his life, and the team did so well. So it was kind of a championship year. So I would imagine a lot of people here are thinking that championship seasons are going to make their list of seasons.
I won my first dollar on that World Series, as a matter of fact. Michael on Facebook says a combination of my favorite team doing well, my favorite player in their prime, my age where nothing was more important than sports, and the memories and nostalgia that replaying that season give me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think
That's
that's
a
going
good
to be
one
a
too.
pretty common answer, I think,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
most of these.
Now, if I go into our chat room here, PJet's in here, and yeah, Ron, me and PJet must have been separated at birth. My mother had twins
You're
because
so you there's two people I know that you are brothers of another mother for now.
we are just identical. I mean,
Yes.
and when I read this here, you'll know why. But he also played bass and he likes Rush. It's like we're just and he likes the Seals. We're like the exact same person. It's kind of funny. So anyway, PJ writes in for season 70, 71 for the Bruins, and that's my season too. And that's the year that they didn't win it. And I love playing that season for one reason is that can I get them to win it because they didn't win it, and two, that 7-game series with the Blackhawks and the Canadians was great. Game sevens and Stanley Cup Finals are so cool. So that's one. And the Bruins again, they were so good, they dominated. And every time I replay it, they do win it. So 70, 71 for the Bruins, and then 74, 75 because of the Capitals and the Scouts, the expansion teams that were horrible. And so, yeah, so I got to agree with that those are my two, aside from 90-91, 70-71 and 74-75 for the exact same reasons, because the Bruins were good and because we have the Capitals and the Scouts, two bad expansion teams. And then he also says any season with Seals and Barons. And I would say
So
the same
why
for
would
me.
a go-to be for a really bad team? For the purposes of you don't really know the game. Not comfort level for you've played this a while and these are your favorite games and so those would be your seasons. But why would you want to take a game that you're not familiar with, and because you did this too, and throw the $76 at it?
That's a good question. Why would you want to start a new game with a bad team? That's a really good question. I think.
Because
Well, but the
that-
other thing is, if you get that season though, you still can play Steelers and Vikings and
yeah, no,
Cowboys.
I know there are good teams.
And I think for me it is because that team is all. I just love that 76 winless team. That the idea is if I'm going to learn a new game, I'll play the better teams, but then I'm going to see which teams can smash Tampa Bay. Can the Colts beat them up? Can the Steelers beat them up? And so for me, it's one of those anomaly, whatever that word is. I can't say it.
Anomaly.
Yeah, whatever you said. And it's the idea that you're playing a season that you're aware of. It's got a crazy team that didn't win a game, and they were really bad, and for many different reasons. And so I like to see how they would do in this game. So for me, it's more of a, I'm not a huge fan of that 76 season per se, but because they do have the winless Buccaneers, I'd like to see how they would fare in that
I mean,
particular
you
game.
did that in what, 9 different engines? Like the first 6 months you were doing the games, every football game you had,
Mhm.
you played that Steelers bucket. You did either the full Buck season, and you almost beat Miami in one of them, or
Mhm.
you did the Steelers Buccaneers game.
Mhm.
I mean, I know if a game is really good when I get squeamish playing a mid-80s Red Sox game using them, because I know that they're going to either have the lead after 7 and lose, or they're going to lose in a close game when you look afterwards and they've stranded 12. So it's like, that's, to me, that's just not a heck of a lot of, I mean, yes, it is because of the air and all that, but yeah, no, the game works.
Well, it's the same reason I would play 74-75 is to see who can beat up the Capitals and the Scouts.
Right.
And now I still know a bunch of those teams in 74-75. The Bruins are still good, and Flyers and the Sabres and all that stuff there. And that's another reason I would play 74-75 because you had Flyers, Sabres. That was a different Stanley Cup than having Montreal in there. But it's just the idea that okay, we got two really bad teams in that season that we can beat up on, and sometimes I will do that. A lot of times when I play a new game, I play Bruins Seals, and so that way there I can have the Bruins get an easy win, and that's a good first step into a game. Yeah, I mean, it might sound kind of corny there.
It works for you.
But I would rather not play Bruins Montreal, have Montreal beat Boston in my very first game in a new game, and be all upset about it. I'd rather play Bruins against a team that they can beat up so I can learn the game, feel good about getting the win in game 1, and then I can play some other stuff. I just, it's kind of playing, some kind of mind games with myself.
I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, so me and PJ are kind of right in the same wavelength
Yep.
as that there. Let me go back to the chat room here and see what else we had in here, Ron. Cleveland baseball fan. He says 1997 to see if he could recreate the Indians World Series run. That's a pretty good one. And then he said, if I try that, it'll probably flame out worse than his 2007 attempt. So he wants to take a team that he's familiar with and see if he can recreate the World Series run.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, that's another
I
good
think
one.
that's also pretty common. If the championship years hadn't happened, 70, another reason. 86 is still too painful.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah,
Yeah, it is.
I get that. I get that.
All right. On Facebook,
Steve says, 1990. I was 15 and baseball was my world. My older brother was a Reds fan, and for what seemed like the first time in my life, we both had something to cheer for.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
In the chat room here, Bernie, we all know Bernie, and he says his favorite seasons are the seasons that the Bruins, Celtics, Patriots, and Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, and Bruins, so the four Boston teams, almost won the championship. He wants to correct history. And that's another good. That's another reason why you would the 70-71 season, for hockey. For me, it's the same thing. It's like I want to see if they can get that championship that they should have won or they were close to getting. So yeah, so Bernie, that's another good one. There is playing the seasons that your team didn't win, but they almost did, or they had a chance to.
I think that was one of the primary draws of OOTP. Oh, you didn't get it? Can you get the missing piece to get it?
Right.
So yeah. All right. This one's hockey. Jason says 2010, 2016, 2017. The Washington Capitals President's Trophy seasons where they lost in the playoffs. I've played almost every hockey game to see if I could win the cup with those Caps team. Ironically, I haven't played a single play with the 2018 Caps teams who did win the cup. Now, you bring this up too, because you talked 70-71. Now, we had a long conversation a few shows ago about the 71-72 Rangers maybe being underperforming because in Cards and Dice, they are there. You've talked about tonight the 70-71 team, not the 69-70 team, not the 71-72 team, or the 10-11 team. Is that the one that won it? You've talked about the one that you didn't even lose in the finals. That's the year that Dryden got hot and they had the big comeback at the Garden. So so you talked about a little bit, but for you specifically, why the advantage or the pleasure of playing the near miss as opposed to when you were actually crowned?
Probably because there won't be any disappointment.
Okay.
If I play 69-70 and I lost, it was disappointing that we couldn't beat the Blues, and then 71-72 when the Rangers kicked my butt in APA and Hockey Bones badly, it was disappointing. So when I play 70-71, if they win, great. If they don't, well, they didn't in real life. So there's nothing gained, nothing ventured at that point. So it's a safe season to play for me, for my heart, to protect my heart from any more hurt. As stupid as it sounds, but
I completely get it.
We're playing nostalgia at this point. That season there, it's a nice, safe season because there's no expectations because they didn't win it in real life.
So microphone check on my end. Did you hear this battery of sirens going off behind me?
I did hear that. Yeah, I did.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are good answers.
Yep,
those are good answers.
Let me see. We had someone here in the chat. Andrew says, my go-to baseball season is 1977, which is my first season I owned Strat when he was 13. Yeah, that's okay. That's a good one too. I like that.
Okay, another Steve on Facebook says 76. Being a Reds and Tigers fan at 9 years old, that season was fairly memorable with the Big Red Machine, and I still swear that's a better team than 75. And Mark Fidrych. And I think Mark Fidrych has sold more sets of Cards and Dice than maybe any other player. Don't you think? I mean, the amount of people who went out and bought 76 this year because Strat reissued it.
Yep, I would agree with that.
I mean, we talk about nostalgia for team reasons, but because he was Big Bird and because he was on the cover of it wasn't just Sports Illustrated, but Time or Newsweek or one of those with Big Bird on the cover. It just kind of struck a chord for those of us who were in that 5 to 10-year-old range that had watched Sesame Street. He
Yep.
was the first real star for our generation. I mean, Pete Rose and Carlton Fisk, I mean, those were all hard-boiled players.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Yastrzemski and Orr down in your neck of the woods, but yeah.
That's another good one. Yep. Just jumping back to PJ real quick, who's in the chat room. He says it's 1970 for baseball, and this is interesting. He says because even the bad teams in 1970 can bash the ball. He can pick any 6 to 8 teams for a mini league, and he likes all the teams. So that's interesting there. He says he doesn't care about pennant races, even though 70 wasn't a good year for that
They
anyway.
weren't close.
So that one, he just, that's a good year for hitters. And so he says, I'm going to play that because I like the hitters.
Actually, that was just a long topic on the Strat fan forum, whether they would reduce 1970 because it is such an anomaly compared to the late 60s and early 70s, which were more of a second dead ball era. I got another hockey one for you.
Okay.
Derek on Facebook says, tough question. That's why I asked it. I have a few to pick from, but I'll say the 88-89 Penguins. Not a cup winner, but special because first playoff berth in 7 years at a time when he lived and died by the Pens, junior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
First time beating the Flyers and Philly since the mid-70s. I didn't realize that they had the Orange Bowl demons with them, too. I met one of the players, Rob Brown, at an autograph signing. Still have it, by the way. I still wish I had my Jim Rice autograph I got in 1980. And Derek, junior in high school. Hopefully there are no pictures of this for your kids to make fun of. I grew a quote-unquote playoff beard that year along with the team. I matured early, and the Pens went 2 rounds that year. So the beard was pretty bushy at the time I shaved it off. And he puts in parentheses, this was before I met the girl who would become my wife.
Well, that's a pretty good one there.
I like that one.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I mean, I know there was a Philly-Pittsburgh rivalry, but I didn't think there was one back then. But I guess there is.
So
back to the Discord here. And again, if you'd like to be in our Digital to Dice Discord, just become a Patreon member. And if you're a club member, you come into the Discord, have the discussion with us. We're in there every day talking to people. And you can see behind the scenes stuff and any extra things that we have going on. And it helps support the show as well. Glenn Victor. And it's patreon.com/digital to dice, just if you want to find that. Glenn, baseball 1984. Tigers win the World Series, and it was the summer before he started his senior year of high school. Everything was just perfect that summer. The music, the team, his friends. So, yeah, 84, if you're a Tigers fan, yep, I can see that as well. And for hockey, 1996, it's the Red Wings' first cup. And so he's big out in Detroit there. And as far as football seasons, being a Lions fan, he says no seasons at all.
Okay, yes, but you're also right on Facebook, so I didn't read that one. But there isn't a Barry Sanders season where you might be tempted.
Yeah. There's got to be something there. There's got to be a couple of wins at the Lions. I mean, they would always beat the Buccaneers.
Billy Sims season.
I mean, how many times as a kid, I would watch the football game, the late game, the 4:00 game, and it'd be 6:30 and it'd be dark outside, and I walk the dog and I come in the house. I'm looking at the bottom of the screen with us showing the scores, and it's like Detroit 20, Tampa Bay 17. I'm like, no, come on, Tampa's gonna come. And Detroit always beat Tampa 2017. So there's some good Detroit seasons. There is. Let me see. The Stratomatic Baseball League here in the chat room says, I like the dead ball era. 1911.
There's a few people who do.
1911 is his favorite. He wishes Strat would put out other dead ball seasons. I picked up 1911. That was my crazy season that I picked up from Strat so I could play. And I haven't played it yet, but I do plan on playing it. And I do since I learned the spiders of 1899. That whole era around 1900 is kind of fun for me. It's very different. There's no pressure to know anybody or to see who does well. It's just a fun time for me. So I can. That's why I get 1911. And I love the teams that don't exist anymore. And there was a handful of teams in 1911 that I wanted to play because I was like, oh, this is a weird name, and I can't think of the names off the top of my head. Now I'm gonna have to go to a Baseball Reference and check it out. But yeah, there was a couple of seasons there. I mean, a couple of teams in 1911 that I needed to do.
I still think you'd love 1980.
I have that on APA. I do. So
going back to Facebook, a lot of it is first years in the baseball. Everett says 84 because it was the first time the Cubs made the playoffs, which is again, kind of like the long suffering things that was there.
Mm-hmm.
The home games at Wrigley were on during the day. They actually threatened the Cubs. Everett didn't write this, but they actually threatened the Cubs if they made the playoffs again and did not have lights up, that any future years after 84, home games would be played in St. Louis.
Ooh.
That would be like the Red Sox being told they had to play their playoff games at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
So at first they talked Comiskey on the south side, but no, that was pretty much the incentive to put lights in at Wrigley because they were told next time it's St. Louis. We'll give you the one, but that's all you're getting now.
Yeah. Yeah, and they did. They finally put the lights in, so good for them.
They did. Rich says, I only got a couple more here. Rich says that's a tough choice. So he'll say 82, had a steady girlfriend. So again, we're getting a lot of good times in my life type stuff here. Washington wins the Super Bowl. We haven't had a lot of people that answer this with football, by the way. You notice in baseball and hockey. Orioles almost take the pennant from the Brewers, and Georgetown is in that great final game against North Carolina. And so for all those, good overall sports year for all your teams. And I'll read David's here because I saw he's in the chat, but he gave a good answer on Facebook. I have followed many seasons, but to be honest, none more than the 1998 Major League Baseball season. See, I got married. The home run record chase was amazing to witness and follow all season. I had the opportunity to watch McGwire hit 2 home runs that season in Pittsburgh, and the atmosphere was fantastic to be a part of in person. 3 sold-out games on 3 consecutive days was awesome. An extremely close second was working for the Rochester Americans when they won the 95-96 Calder Cup. The Americans and the Portland Pirates were in last place in their conferences at Christmas and went on to meet in the finals. The Americans won in 7 at home in front of a sold-out building. That was one hell of a party.
Yeah, that's another good one there. Where was it over here? Oh, Andrew writes in on the chat over here. 74-75 hockey classic Dave Schultz. Yes. Yeah, if you like penalties, mid 70s, we're the way to go. And the Islanders were also getting good. I know you've played some Islanders around that time.
75-76 because that's Trottier's rookie year.
Yep.
74-75 was the year that they upset Boston. They upset somebody. They made the semis. They lost to either Buffalo or Philly in the next round, but they knocked out a team they had no right to.
70. Yeah, they did.
Eddie
beat Boston,
Westfall was there, and it was Denny Potvin's rookie year, but they didn't have Trottier there yet. Gillies, I think. I mean, those were kids.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, you talked about today. It would be McDavid, Eichel, and just some like Mitch Marner 10 years ago, all being 21 and playing on the same team and making a deep run. I mean, just young enough not to know any better, that they're not supposed to be doing this.
Right. Let me see in the chat. Modo says 1970, another 1970 baseball. So many teams were stacked: Cardinals, Orioles, A's, Twins, Braves, and Red Sox. Yep, so there's another good one there. Captain Carl had a good one here. He says he likes replaying historical season to see how close the replay can mirror the original season. And that's another good point. And he says 08, 67, and 69. That's another good point.
So a lot of the MO from the seasons I've done streaming. It wasn't necessarily to give the Red Sox a good time or that, but knowing going in that that there would be compelling action most of the year. And we've had that. And so I agree with Bobby with that.
Yeah, no, that's another good one there. So 70 baseball has been big here on the chat here.
Not a lot of football, which I'm surprised.
Yeah, not a lot of football at all.
I know we don't draw a lot of basketball fans.
Bobby Catalano jumped in and
Bobby. Bobby, that's a Bobby drawing if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, and she puts a vote in for Skyrim. It's not a
Okay.
sports game, but she was playing Skyrim, which is
The person whose shirt is sponsoring your right nipple tonight or left nipple tonight, he responded, fall because the weather gets cooler.
that's another good one. Yep, fall is very good. Yep.
Thanks, Ray.
RJL, we all know Robert here. Of
Yep.
course, he says 86 because of his Mets. So there's another vote for a championship season. So again, when we talk about why do you play certain seasons, I think championship season that might be the biggest one.
I
Championship
think
season,
especially first championship seasons.
or
Not that-
it's been a while since a
or it's
championship. Yeah,
right. Although I love all of my 4 championship children the same, of course I do. But 13 and 4 I like more. 4 was the first, and 13 was the one they won at Fenway.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, I would think that would be the case. That first championship that you took part, that you were a fan of, would be
Yeah.
pretty common.
Here's another interesting one from Captain Carl. He says he likes playing NFL seasons that had running backs with 2,000 yards. So that's
Bobby,
more of a
I highly recommend you add 63 to that because Jim Brown comes within 37 yards in a 14-game season.
yeah. So that's
And
another one. That's another individual player type of
Yes.
thing. So he's
Yep.
looking at that. So you're talking 1970, no team in particular, just all good hitters. So now he's talking about 2,000 yard runners. So those individuals.
OJ, Dickerson in 84, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis. Am I missing
Mhm.
anybody? I must be missing a couple now.
Let's go to back to the Discord. One of our
Okay.
Patreons and listener here on YouTube, Steeler fan. All right, he was the sponsor of the Spiders season, by the way. Steeler fan, Buggy Whips, and so he says for baseball, it's 2005. It was the Astros' first trip to the World Series,
World Series. Yep.
and the culmination of what was nearly a decade progressing to that point. For basketball, 86, the Twin Towers were taking the NBA by storm. The Rockets won 51 games and were the Midwest Division and Western Conference champs. Football is tough. He lists off a whole bunch of seasons 76, 89, 92, 94, 95, 2010, 2017. But he's going to go with 2004, 15-1 Big Ben's rookie season. So if you're a Steeler fan, which he is, that would be a good one for you. 76 would be good too. You know, the Bradshaw years.
He might not have been old enough for that, though.
That's all right. I wasn't old enough for some of the Bruins seasons, and I still
Right.
could enjoy them. Yeah, and let me see. Thespian in the Discord says being a Giants fan, 1986. Giants won the Super Bowl for the first time. He cried when he was 21 years old. I can say if I was 21 and I had a championship, I probably would have cried too. But I didn't get a
I've
championship till I was
always
old.
had a hard time trying to get the Giants to be successful on the table
Really?
as they were in real life. Well, their defense is fantastic, but it's hard for games to replicate defense. Second and
Okay.
10 and Action PC do a good job. The problem is that the Giants' offense was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. And if you have games that have fatigue, you can wear out Joe Morris pretty quick.
Yeah, you can. Going back with Thespian, he says baseball is 76. He was 10 years old, collecting cards, and could name everybody in both leagues. Yeah, I was about the same age and collecting cards back then. And I still have all those cards, I think. And so I knew them when you get the packs in. You're looking at the guys here, and again, we talked about this many times. Is that the Padres and the Giants in the National League? You never saw them here in Boston. So when I got the baseball cards, that's how I learned everybody. And and he said, or 73, the first year he remembers going to the Mets games when they made it to the series. So those are some of the things on the Discord there.
I will say that give a spoiler for the alternate history of baseball that I just did.
Okay.
Rusty Staub, who was on that 73 Mets team, makes the Hall of Fame.
Of course, Rusty's awesome. He's awesome.
I always liked Rusty, even when he played for the 80s with the Mets.
Yeah. So kind of recapping here what we have going on. So if we're talking about why do you play certain seasons, I would say probably the number one would be championships.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That'd be the championships. Number 2, maybe the almost championships or playoff, just making the playoffs. What do you think?
Just break it through. Sure.
Okay.
And number 3 would be the pure nostalgia, great time of my life, and I want to revisit it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are the 3 there, that we've come up with there as far as why we play certain seasons. Again, there's the nostalgia is a huge part of it. Again, when I go back to my 1991 example with Sega Genesis hockey, and that's when I watched a lot of hockey, and I could play it in the video games. I like going back and playing those teams on the cards and dice. That was a big deal for me because I could never do that until I started this hobby. You couldn't go back before 1991 and play anything hockey. You just couldn't. So I value those games because those. I love the old hockey there, and that's as far back as I go until I started playing cards and dice or sports sims, I should say, because you can still play it on the PC as well. So a whole bunch of different reasons here why we go back and play different seasons.
I can't believe you're not nostalgic for Marty Brodeur's Neutral Zone Trap NHL 2002.
Yeah, there was some I wasn't watching a lot of hockey at that point. I really wasn't. There was some bad years of hockey. And I got to say that I don't watch a lot of the newer hockey here. I did watch the playoffs this year. I don't know why I did, but I did watch the playoffs. But it just, when you look at hockey back in the day, like if you watch some highlights of 70s or 80s hockey, it is bad. I mean, the players were fantastic, for their time, but compared to today, where the fourth line guy is so fast and can do as much as anybody else, it's the skill level is just so much higher now when you watch the game, and it's so much faster. And it's just you see these guys flying around. And it's just like I'd be dead out there. I would catch an edge and I hit the boards and I'd splatter.
To make a defense for modern basketball, I was watching him. Dennis Rodman said that if Larry Bird played the day, that Dennis Rodman could say something to get a lot of attention, that Larry would only play in Europe. And so I can't stand hot takes. I did that, professionally for a while. I avoided doing it. I know it draws reads, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I like Dan Patrick. And so I watched a segment of Dan Patrick yesterday or the day before talking about, how full of poo-poo that Mr. Rodman was, and saying that. And they got into the conversation of, so when does Larry Bird fall out of your top 10 of all time? Because there's obviously lots of good players today. And they got in the conversation of Larry versus LeBron. And Dan Patrick brought up the point, and you bring it up because of the physicality of hockey players, is what position would you slate a modern basketball? They're not a strict position player anymore.
Mm.
You can be a shooting guard. You can be at 6'5" or 6'6", a point guard. You might not be able to be a power forward or a center under 6'9" or 6'10", but it's hard to say that these players are in set positions compared to basketball before, just because of how much bigger, stronger, faster they are. And that's one of the reasons why so many teams shoot the three. It's where they're open. Because
as much as I think as much as a lot of us are just sick of LeBron, you got to give it up for he is one of the greatest. But again, how do you compare him? From Michael Jordan in his prime and Larry Bird in his prime, and Wilt Chamberlain or anybody.
Chamberlain and Russell to Bird and Magic. Yeah. I mean, it's a completely different game. A completely different game in the 60s. But anyway, so just kind of bringing that up, that, I mean, you're absolutely right. A fourth line winger isn't going to spend 200 minutes in the penalty box because no one does that anymore. It's not their job to protect the superstar.
No, yeah, you're right. And we talk about too about, could the 1950 Lions, beat the, any modern team? I mean, it's two different ways to play football. The football was even shaped different back then. You know what I mean? Everything was just so different. The kickers couldn't kick. I mean, extra points were 70 or 80%, and they were on the thing was on the damn goal line. They hardly made field goals. I mean, it was such a different game that football is probably one of the ones it's the hardest. Baseball is probably the easiest because it's been the same game. It's you pitch and you hit, and the technology hasn't changed. It's the same ball and the same bat. For the most part,
there is a YouTube channel. I'm not going to mention it because I don't want the NFL to shut it down. That has taken old games, old VHS and betas and whatever, and run them through some AI to clean them up to
Mhm.
speed them up to 60 frames per second, so it looks like you're watching there.
Oh,
And
wow.
a couple of those games are Steeler games
Okay.
when they were really good in the mid 70s. How in Hades they won with Roy Jarella as
Oh,
their
yeah.
kicker.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm one, he's hitting extra points, but they're dead duck hooks.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I did my Buccaneers replay, was it 6 months ago, whatever it is?
Yeah.
Their kicker was David Green. He was the punter and the kicker. He couldn't kick. I mean, seriously. I mean, anybody out of college would have kicked better than he did. And he made, when I played my replay, I remember he missed a good 30-40% of his extra points. And when we checked, that's about what he missed in real life. I mean, he just missed a ton of kicks. He just wasn't that good.
Right.
And I remember watching so many highlights of him just missing kicks, left, right, whatever. And they kept him the whole season. It's like, this, maybe he could punt a little bit, but he was not going to make a field goal for you. And so back then, yeah, it was so bad. And Steve Tower writes in here in the chat room, 1991, you have to pronounce it Sega. Yep.
Sega.
Yep, that's how it was. Sega was so good back in the day. Oh, yeah, Don Cockcroft, John Alexander writes it in the chat room. Don Cockcroft from the Browns. I watched that whole game between the Vikings and the Browns. The Ahmad Rashad catch when Minnesota played outside. I watched the whole game. It was a cold day. And the kickers, I think they combined to miss 3 extra points in that game. And it's just, and they had, was it Cockcroft and Fred Cox? Both straight on.
After Cox.
Both, no, they were both straight on kickers.
Or there might have been Fred Cox, the inventor of the Nerf football.
And they just kept missing those extra points. It was horrendous.
We should probably wrap up the recording part of the show. People want to stay and chat with us for a few minutes after.
Yeah, we'll do that. So let's do this. Oh boy, I clicked on the wrong link over here. All right, so we're gonna wrap up the show part of it here, and we'll stay on and chat for a few more minutes. But so let's wrap things up here. So we want to thank everybody that tuned in live or on demand or gave us their feedback on Discord or Facebook. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And this was episode 190. 190. Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning. 190 of the Digital to Dice podcast. Ways to get a hold of us. digitaltodice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the dice line. We can send us a text. digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. And if you'd like to support us on Patreon and jump into the Discord and get some extra goodies here from the Digital to Dice crew, patreon.com/digitaltodice. So that'll wrap it up here in show 190. We will stay on the YouTube to say hi to some people in the chat room and chat for a few minutes, but yeah, episode 190 is in the books. And I'd like to thank everybody that have a good safe 4th of July. Not sure when you guys are going to listen to this one here. If you listen on the podcast,
hope you had a good 4th.
Yeah, hope you had a good 4th. One of the two. So anyway, I'm Dave.
I'm Ron.
Go ahead.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it was starting to devolve into a chat, and I didn't want people to.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that.
Which is fine, but so there you got to. For those of you who on Patreon have seen us do this a couple times, but the rest of you got the chance to see us actually do a show. So,
yep. So this is kind of how we do it here. Well, pretty much what we do. Yeah, similar to what we do.
How does it sound?
Fantastic.
Wow.
It was fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, there was not an issue the entire time.
Good.
So I want to look up that football game. That game I was talking about. What year do you think that was? Was that 80?
It was December of 80. It was the last home game for the Vikings outdoors, I think. All
right, so I'm gonna go to that game. So we're gonna go Minnesota Vikings. They were 9-7 that season. Schedule and game results. Yeah, December 14th against Cleveland. Oh, what do you? No, that couldn't be the score. Oh no, it wasn't. Okay, I was looking at the record. Okay, the final score was 28-23. Let's take a look at the box score. So Ahmad Rashad, 46-yard pass from Tommy Kramer. That was the go ahead there. Maybe it was field goals they were missing. All right, let's look at the kicks.
Well, the kicking stats would be there.
Okay, kicking stats. Okay,
John
Cockcroft.
Alexander says my brother put a hole in the wall. Like, oh,
okay. It was okay. So it was Don Cockcroft was 2 for 3
that's
on
not bad.
extra points and 1 for 1 on field goals. It was not. It was Rick Danmeyer.
Oh,
He was 1 for 4 on extra points and 1 for 3 on field goals. Oh man. Imagine that. Because I remember watching that game and there was like kick after kick after kick was missed. And so Cockcroft only missed the 1 extra point. But you know what I think what happened is I think Minnesota scored and they missed the extra point. And then Cleveland scored and missed the extra point. And then Minnesota scored and missed another extra point. And I'm like, man, they just can't hit an extra point. So it felt like they missed a lot more.
right.
But if you think of it, Danmeyer was 2 for 7 between field goals and extra points.
That's 286. That actually will get you pretty good in baseball.
Yeah, that is unbelievable.
Don't forget in the strike here,
he actually missed on the Ahmad Rashad catch. He actually missed the kick on that last one there.
Yeah, the cardiac kids. Yep. In the strike year of 82, the NFL MVP was Mark Mosley.
Yeah, the one time that
they
did
that kicker from Washington. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, John says my brother put a hole in the wall. I was pretty bummed out. I was pulling for Cleveland. I think everybody was at that point.
It was the Red Right 88 game I felt so bad about. The playoff game against Oakland.
So PJ says we were both goalies. Yes, we were. I was a goalie back in the day.
So I'm 9 years old. We're living above my grandmother. Got a black and white television set to watch that game. And it's like, this was the year that Cleveland was going to win. Nope. Yep. Red Right 88. Ugh.
Yep. So I'm looking here. So
Fan is driving to Vermont right now to dispose me of that notion of ever talking about that ever again.
So check this out. So 18-yard pass to Calvin Hill. Cleveland goes up 7-0 in the first quarter. Second quarter, Brian Sipe, a 2-yard rush. Kick is missed. 13-0, right? Vikings, Joe Sensor, a 31-yard pass from Tommy Kramer. Kick is missed. 13-6, right? Cockcroft hits the field goal. 16-6. Danmeyer hits a field goal. 24 yards, by the way. So it's 16-9 in the third quarter. That's where it was. And then the Browns got a 1-yard rush, and Cockcroft actually made the kick. So 23-9. And then a 7-yard pass to Ted Brown for the Vikings. Point was missed. So 23-15. And then Ahmad Rashad got a 12-yard pass. It was 23, and he hit this one, 23-22. So he's missed 2 extra points at this point, which would have had them in the lead because it was 23-22. And then that long pass to Rashad, and he missed another kick. But it didn't matter because it was 28-23 at that point. But that is kind of nuts, huh?
So, Pete Gogolak, soccer style kicker, maybe not because of his kicking or directly because of his kicking, the most important person in the history of North American professional sports. You want to guess why?
Was he the first soccer style kicker?
He was the first soccer style kicker, and that's part of the reason. It's part of the reason, but not the only reason.
Okay. So what was his name again?
Pete Gogolak.
Pete Gogolak. Okay, I've heard.
He was a soccer style kicker, and I can't tell you anything more from that because I'll give it away.
Was he a first round pick? Maybe.
He was a pretty high pick, but that's not the reason why.
Okay, then
he was the first soccer. I'll see if anyone in the chat will get this before I say it.
What team did he play for?
I can't tell you that because that gives away the answer.
Oh, was he like the last kicker for a certain team?
No, it has nothing to do. His style of kicking is important, but it's not the reason why it's important. It's what happened. And Andrew got it right. He was the first player to jump from the AFL to the NFL. He was drafted by the Buffalo Bills and played for them, and then signed away by the New York Giants. And so when the NFL started to raid the AFL for talent, it pretty much forced Al Davis, who was the commissioner of the AFL, and Pete Rozelle to get something together, because they knew that both leagues couldn't financially survive if there was an open war with talent.
Okay.
And so, yep. So Andrew gets the internet cookie of the night because, yeah, AFL players had signed NFL players, just like WFL players and USFL signed NFL talent. But it was the first NFL raid on an AFL team. And that's when Andrew literally said that's when the poop hit the fan.
See, I wouldn't have got that. I
tried to put it was more for people out there. See, there's the cat.
Yeah.
She just woke up. Yeah. Imagine that. It's kind of the Live PGA merger, whatever that turns out to be. And we were all surprised that it was the Live that seemingly had won that merger or will win that merger deal with the PGA. But it wasn't, and because that came out of nowhere. But kind of like, when the Giants signed Gogolak, and it pretty much forced the AFL and the NFL to become equals at that point. If we're rating your talent.
Interesting. Well, the AFL, like I said, they were not that good for a while, but then they became like the West Coast offense, for what I remember.
San Diego was good early, and then they made the big splash for Joe Namath. And that sent salaries up in the NFL. And then by 1966 was when the Giants poached Gogolak from Buffalo.
Now, when did they start playing each other?
I believe 1966 preseason.
Excuse me.
So the merger officially was after the 1969 season. So 1970 was the first unified year.
Okay, so I'm looking here. So 1959. So 1960 looks like they had AFL, NFL.
Right. 1960 was the first year of the AFL, and the first 6 seasons they were completely independent of each other.
Okay.
And then they did the merger. That's how Super Bowl I came about. And then the last 4 years they played as 2 separate leagues with a unified draft.
Okay. Yeah. So the AFL first season was looks like it was 1960. Yeah.
Yep.
Houston, New York Titans, Buffalo Bills, Boston Patriots, Los Angeles Chargers. Interesting.
It's interesting that they went back to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Dallas Texans, Oakland Raiders, and Denver Broncos. Okay.
The Boston Patriots did not play a Sunday afternoon game at home. They were so worried about people staying home to watch the Giants that they did all their home games on Fridays and Saturday nights. So
no
that
kidding.
People, yeah.
That's interesting because I didn't know all that about the football there.
And the Dallas Texans became the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cowboys had run them out of the Cotton Bowl by 1963.
No kidding.
Yeah, so they had gone to the championship game in 1962. They played Houston. That's the double overtime game you can see clips of on YouTube.
Okay.
And then he moved. Lamar Hunt was at Oilman, and he moved them to Kansas City. And that's where they've been. But yeah, they were the Dallas Texans. They were a championship team. And then the Cowboys pretty much said, bye-bye. Dallas couldn't support 2 teams.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't follow the football till mid-70s,
Yep.
And then, Alan types in here, Ron.
Yep. Same reason. A, they couldn't be on television. And B, they didn't want to compete against the Giants, who were still good in the 1960s.
Yeah, Ron is football Google. Gogolak. We're going to call him Gogolak. That's going to be your name, Gogolak.
That's right, Bears Den. Kick to the clock. They made the mistake of when they won the toss. Dallas won the toss. Just like in the Thanksgiving Day game. Oh, no, it wasn't that. It was someone in an overtime recently in the NFL deferred. And in the overtime, because it was sudden death, Abner Haynes was the Dallas captain. And when they won the toss, they pointed to kick to the clock. They wanted to kick with whatever way that the wind was beneficial instead of taking the ball. There was no regular season overtime in football then, so it was all new to them. Yeah, kick to the clock. I'd forgotten about that. All the home games were blacked out till 73.
I
Which is
remember
why
as a
which is why
kid, a lot of the Patriots home games weren't on TV, and every now and then they were like, "Oh yeah, Channel 7 just gobbled up the last 2,000 tickets so they could put it on TV." And
from no home games until 73, and then it's still technically this way, but they don't enforce it anymore. Had to be sell out 72 hours before kickoff. If it sold out on by Friday, you'd get the game.
Hmm.
And if it didn't, you didn't. And that included Super Bowl cities. So if the Super Bowl was
Yeah.
in Miami, you didn't see it in Miami
But I was gonna
because
say,
technically you could have gone to the game.
yeah, and but now it's like everything sells out.
Even if they don't, the NFL hasn't enforced that in a while
Yeah.
because the Chargers were in a bad situation. And there is a good 5-part AFL series on YouTube. The Ice Bowl was not seen live in Green Bay because it was in Green Bay. CBS showed it in Green Bay after the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Day. So you had to sit through a college football game you could care less about
Yeah.
to watch your team play.
Did you
arguably
ever
one of the
see?
top
I
five
saw
games
a
of all
thing.
time.
It was probably on YouTube. Might have been on the news, but I'm pretty sure it was YouTube. About the girl who found the picture from the Ice Bowl that she took from the plane.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, it was about it was some woman, probably from Green Bay, and she found a picture in a camera that, like, they finally developed the roll of film at some point, and that it was the day of the Ice Bowl, and her father was a pilot and said, "Hey, I'm gonna go up in a plane and fly around." And who'd want to go up on a day like that? It was freezing,
15
and
below
so
zero.
so I guess her sister or brother didn't want to go, and so the father went with his daughter, and she took a camera and took some pictures. And one of the pictures was they were flying by the stadium, and she took the shot above of Green Bay of the Packer Stadium, whatever it's called there. And in some of the videos, I think when they did this whole thing, they said they showed a video. It says, "Here's our plane in the video."
That's wild.
I think they showed the plane in the video, but there was a picture of that, and she said, "Yeah." And they got home, and they were freezing, and because it was so cold. It's like, why would you go up when it was that cold and fly? I mean, that's just dumb, you know.
So, broadcast booth, no heat, late 60s, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And so it was Ray Scott, Jack Buck, and Frank Gifford. And Ray called the first half, and one of them called the halves, and Frank did the color for the whole game. And so the thermoses were starting to freeze. And so Gifford asks Jack Buck, "Well, why isn't your coffee freezing?" And Jack said, "Because it's vodka."
Yeah.
Alan says, "I never saw the Jets in their white uniforms until I bought a standing room seats at Shea as a teenager to see a game live. Years ago, when I worked at the store, we had someone. We get a lot of tourists from New York and Canada into Burlington, and so we had someone come in who had grown up on Long Island,
Okay.
and he had season tickets the last 16 years that the Jets played at Shea, so 67 through 83.
Okay.
And did you ever go to Shea?
No.
Did you ever go see Mets? I saw the Mets there a couple of times. So I was there in the summer, and the weather was good. It was August, so it was always good. Shea Stadium is right by LaGuardia, which is right on Flushing Bay.
Okay.
And so it gets windy, as it does through all large bodies of water. And so what is a nice breeze in the summertime for the Mets is not a nice breeze in the upper deck if you're at a football game in October, November, and December,
I can see that.
seeing Flushing Bay from your upper deck seats. Yeah, and Andrew just had shape. So I said, "Oh, so where were your seats?" Upper deck. Again, great seats for baseball, probably okay for football, but windy and cold.
I think that used to be the case at Schaefer Stadium with the
Well,
Patriots. We
those
used to
were
go
all
to a lot of games.
bleachers.
There were
'cause
bleacher seats all over the place, but it's just, and I forget what side it was, but in the dead of winter, you wanted to be on the side that had the sun because it got really cold in the shade. and I honestly don't remember what side it was. I went to a whole bunch of Patriots game back in the day. I did. My uncle used to get tickets, and I probably went to half dozen or so. I went to one of the games I went to, it was a funny story here. I'm going to tell a funny story. It was 86, and the Patriots played on Sunday afternoon, and Sunday night was the Red Sox Angels game in California.
Oh, game 5.
That the Red Sox had to win to advance the series. And that's the one they get the crazy home run late in the game.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I remember I got so drunk. Right. I don't remember coming back. I was surprised I found the car. I come back to the car and I crashed in the back of the car. Right. And they were all sitting there still drinking and partying. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I remember listening to that like I was laying there like and then the next day I started a new job and I went in hungover and I went in, I'm like, oh, and I went in and luckily the kid that was training me goes, I'm hungover. I went to the game yesterday too. so he kind of helped me through my first day, but it was the Patriots and then the Red Sox that night and then the new job the next day. I was like, oh, what was I thinking, But
I got my first F-bomb off in that home run.
really?
Yeah. I was 14.
Hmm.
Alan says Shea was awful. At a November game, my friend bought hot dogs to shove in his pockets as a hand warmer.
Oh yeah, yeah. I went to one game at the Patriots place there. I don't know.
Oh,
What
the
they
new
call it
one?
now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you went in that freak October snowstorm, didn't
It's
you?
2009 October freak storm. It was a 4:00 game, and we got there and sat in the car and had some. So we got right there. I was like, holy cow! We flew into the game. Back in the day, it took forever to get into there. Gillette Stadium is the name of the place. And so we ate sandwiches and we walked in, and as we're walking in, it starts to rain and then it starts to snow. And it was gorgeous because it was all nice and white, but it was that freezing rain. And I was dressed somewhat light because it was an mid-October day.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be weather
And
at all.
the person I was with was all in like snow gear. And they were all nice and warm, and I was like freezing. My gloves were so I was not ready for it. And so that's the game that they killed them like 51-0. So it's like every pass Brady threw was a touchdown. So we were in the upper decks, and it was just so cold. And so everyone was in the bathrooms in the upper decks, like with the hand warmers, trying to stay warm. They were out of gloves. They were out of scarves. They were out of hot chocolate. Anything to keep you warm. They were out of it in the 300 section. And so I remember saying, it was halftime. I says, it's like 35. Then I says, I am freezing and I don't want to get sick. This is, I'm going to be waiting in the car. So they ended up going with me. We were in a line of people walking out of the stadium. That's how bad it was at halftime. Now, granted, it was a blowout, but we weren't the only ones leaving. So I didn't feel so bad. In fact, we got back to, back home when we were watching the rest of the game on the TV. It was funny that we got home that fast, but I was like, holy cow, that it's just my one time to Gillette as for a football game, and it's got to do that. And it was a memorable game. They had the old uniforms, and Tennessee had the Houston uniforms.
Yeah,
It was
the
a
blue helmets.
perfect game for me, and it was just ruined by the weather. And it was just, and I was just not prepared for it.
Of course, the last game at the old place was the Tuck Rule game.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
in the
Raiders
snowstorm.
game. Yeah.
In the snowstorm, which
Yep.
was fantastic. You talk about leaving early of a game. The Gibson home run game in the World Series, game 1. To this day, I have yet to see where that ball lands. Because the thing that always catches my eye is because the bleachers at the back of Dodger Stadium are open, you can see people leaving because they're trying to beat traffic to get out. And as soon as you hear Scully go, "Shit, gone," and the radio call, which is Don Drysdale, was fantastic, underrated call. You can see the brake lights in the cars light up as they stop to listen to that home run.
Really?
Yeah, because that caught my eye watching it live, and every time I've seen that clip in the last 35 years, it's not seeing where that ball lands, it's seeing the line of cars stop as they can hear. Yeah. Wow, Bernie. Wow. So yeah, so that's what I remember from the end of that was the cars. The infamous, oh yeah, it's LA. You get there early, you leave late, or you get there late, leave early. Yeah. There's a couple videos on YouTube, even after the renovation of Soldier Field with the wind. So San Francisco Bears game, and Robbie Gould's kicking
Oh.
for one of the teams, and it's hooking more than you trying to hit a driver.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I've seen some of those like the worst weather games, and the kickers like,
Yeah.
phoom, and the kickers are trying to aim it to the left, and it's still
And they're
it's just,
using a different ball. They use a harder ball now to kick
yeah,
within the.
it didn't work. So
It's just so funny.
yeah, so you want to wrap this up here tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, thanks for coming by tonight. Oh wow, Bernie, nice. The only World Series game you ever attained, and
You'll never top that one, my
no,
friend.
don't go to any more. Don't go to any more.
You're done.
Yep.
You're done.
That's a good one. So yeah, I want to thank everybody that stopped by in the chat room to watch this as we recorded episode 190. And I'll probably put that together and release that early next week or whatever, so we can get that out for a podcast. Ron's on vacation next week, so won't be any show until he gets back. I'm gonna go check out some golf. I got a couple things. I gotta go check out Franchise Hockey Manager. You know, for I don't know if it's 10 or $20, but I might get the new one. You know, and play around with that. I do like the to do the draft, and maybe OTP. I should play that more, but I could never get the stadiums to work. I have all the old stadiums, and I would put them in, and then I would say, okay, I'm 75 Red Sox Reds.
Okay, it's a one-step process, and I can walk you through it.
Okay, maybe we can do that offline. Yeah.
Yep.
But I just was like, I couldn't figure out how to get them in. It's like, I want to play with the old stadiums. And
That and the uniforms are new this year too.
oh, good. Yeah, maybe I'll do that then.
So
And then I might go check out some APC golf too, Action PC golf. See if I can find the love in that game again. Again, second chances. We've talked second chances. So
yeah, we have.
maybe I need to go back with a fresh view and check it out.
Well, now
so.
that you've played some more golf games. So
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for everybody tuned in, and we will catch you all next time. Have a good night, everyone.
good night.